Okay, so we got, the book wants you to graph by guess and check, okay, at first. And then they're going to teach you a couple of methods on how to graph. I'm going to teach you one method on how to graph, and I'm going to show you how much easier it is. Now, guessing and checking on this one, I decided to go with -2, 0, and 2. And when I plugged in -2, I found that y was -1. And when I plugged in 0, I found that y was -1. I was like, oh, okay, so they're going to be they're going to be the same, okay? So then when I plugged in a 2, and I found that it was 15. So I was like, okay, so let me go to the other side. So 2 over this is 15. So symmetrically, if it's symmetrical, then I should go 2 from here, and that should be 15, and it was. So then what I did was I plugged in a 1, or a -1, because that's the middle of -2 and 0, right? So 1 is right in between them, and I ended up with -5. Okay, and then I plugged it all in, right? I think that's what I ended up with. Is that right? So -1 squared is 1 times 2 is, oh whoops, so actually 2 plus 4 is 6, minus 1 is 5. Yeah, so -4. Oh, this is 1, but minus 4 is -2. So that's a -3. Sorry about that. So that should be -3. And so then this comes down to a -3, and then we're thinking it turns around. We don't know for sure. We're just thinking, well, because this is a parabola, we know it's symmetrical. This might be what's happening. Again, really good educated guesses. So what I want to do is show you how to do this all the time, every time, very easily and quickly. So we have 2x squared plus 4x minus 1, and this is f of x. Okay? And so our first step is to take the derivative. Okay? So we're going to learn the derivative, and that's f prime of x. Okay? And with the derivative is very simple. You're just going to take the exponent times the coefficient. Okay? The exponent times the coefficient, and you get 4x. And then I take 1 away from that exponent, and I get 1. So, okay? Then I do the same thing here. There's a hidden 1, so I got 1 times 4 is 4. Okay? Now 1 from 1 is 0, so there's no x. And believe me, there's an x here, but it's the 0 power. And 0 times 1 is 0, so we just don't add anything to it. And that's the derivative. It's really simple. 2 times 2 is 4, and then bring the 4 down. We're done. Okay? But what I want to do now is set that equal to 0, so that I can find the axis of symmetry. Okay? So I do my math. I got -4 minus 4. I get 4x equals -4. Okay? And then I divide by 4, and I get x is equal to -1. And that is my axis of symmetry.
I can't see any of that.
Okay? Well, scoot up. Or push pause when we're looking at it online. Alright, so now I want to go into the next one. Alright? So the next one is 2. I got to do that. The function of the axis. Right? To find the vertex, all I got to do is take this and plug it in. Okay? So I want to plug this into f of x. So I've got -1 plugged in. Is that better? Yeah. Okay? Okay. So f of -1. So now I'm just plugging that into this original function. The original function was 2 times the x squared plus the 4x minus the 1. And I'm just plugging in this negative 1, right? Okay? And so what is negative 1 squared?
Positive 1.
Yes. So I have 1 times 2 plus 4 times negative 1, or, yeah, 4 times negative 1 is negative 4 minus 1. So I've got 2 minus 4 is minus 2 minus 1. So I've got negative 2 minus 1 is minus 3. And that's f of negative 1 is equal to negative 3. Now that is our vertex. Okay? That's our vertex. From that, I know what I can graph. I know that I have a graph over here, and I know that I can start graphing at negative 1 and negative 3. That's my vertex. So negative 1, negative 3, that's the lowest or highest point of the graph. Okay? So next, I'm going to do the function of 0. Okay? All I'm doing here is saying f of 0 is equal to 2 times 0 squared plus 4 times 0 minus 1. And what you'll notice here is it gets rid of all of this. It's just, this is all 0. So we get f of 0 is equal to negative 1. And that gives us a point. 0 and negative 1. So 0 and negative 1. Okay? And then I'm going to go into another point. Okay? And another point is f of the axis. Right? So f of the 2 times the axis. How much was the axis? Negative 1? Right? So 2 times negative 1, which is how much? Negative 2. So I'm doing f of negative 2, and I'm just plugging it in. 2 times the quantity of negative 2 squared plus 4 times negative 2. And I call this the check. This is our checkpoint, right? We should get negative 1. We should get the same thing we got for here. Now whether we do or not depends if we did the math right. Negative 2 squared is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. Right? And then I've got negative, or I didn't write the 4 there. Sorry about that. Plus 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. So 8 minus 8 is 0. So I'm left with negative 1. So f of negative 2 is equal to negative 1, right? So again, we have a point, negative 2 and negative 1. And we graph that point, negative 2 and negative 1. And that is our function. Really easily graphed. Okay? Quickly graphed. This will go on YouTube tonight.